Welcome to the webinar, Google Reviews plus AI Search. What storage operators need to know in 2026. Brought to you by the Storage Group. We have over 15 years of experience of working with self-storage facilities to maximize their online presence. We offer progressive websites, targeted digital advertising, and online rental software, helping facilities like yours gain visibility, convert more renters, and generate revenue. Enjoy the webinar. Your online reputation matters more than ever. Every review, every rating, and every customer interaction shapes how potential tenants see your business. With Reputation Manager from the Storage Group, staying on top of your online reviews has never been easier. Monitor reviews from Google and Facebook in one convenient dashboard. Instantly see your overall ratings, review trends, and customer feedback across all of your locations. Get real-time visibility into what customers are saying and quickly identify opportunities to strengthen your reputation. Respond directly to reviews from within the platform. Whether you're thanking customers for positive feedback or addressing concerns, Reputation Manager helps you engage quickly and professionally. Create thoughtful responses in just a few clicks and keep every customer interaction organized in one place. Generate more positive reviews by making it easy for customers to share their experiences. Track performance with powerful reporting and analytics. Measure review volume, monitor ratings, and gain valuable insights into customer satisfaction over time. Take control of your online reputation with Reputation Manager from the Storage Group. Monitor, respond, grow, learn more today and start turning customer feedback into a competitive advantage.
Welcome in, everyone. Happy Thursday to all of you, and thank you for joining the Storage Group for another version of our educational webinar called The Megabyte. And today we are, like you saw, talking all about Google Reviews and AI search and what you as a storage operator need to know for these important things that are going on in 2026. My name is Jessica Johnson. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Director of Marketing over here at the Storage Group, and we're happy to have you here with us today. If you want to interact with us, we want to hear from you, and you have questions for the speakers today, or even if you have comments or want to tell us things that you're doing at your facility and you want to share, please feel free to do that in the comment section. We love to have interaction during these. It just helps it go that much quicker and better. So if you have feedback, we would love to hear from you. I'm going to bring up our first speaker today, and he knows this business very well. We have Cale with us. From Storage Reach. Good afternoon, Cale. Cale, you're muted, just to let you know. There you
sorry.
go.
Yeah. Hey, Jessica, thanks for having me. Excited to be here and talk about reviews.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Storage Reach and what you do over there.
Yeah. So we are a review generation software built for the self-storage industry. We integrate with your management software and really automate that outreach and really help you to get a consistent flow of positive reviews coming from your tenants. A lot of people, they focus on reviews. They always worry about them, but they don't have a system in place to really capture that 5-star experience. So that's what we have built, and that's what we've served in the industry for about 3 years now. A little over 2,000 facilities on the platform right now. So really deep in the industry, know a lot about reviews. So yeah, thanks for having me.
That's awesome. Thanks for being here, Cale. And my next guest I have with us today is Miss Melissa Stiles from Storage Asset Management. Hello, Melissa.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Awesome. Mel, tell us about you and what you do.
Yeah, so Storage Asset Management, we're a third-party management company for only self-storage, and we solely manage. We do not own any facilities. We operate under the Storage Sense brand and about 108 other brands with 600 locations in about 38 states.
Yeah, so you're seeing review volume in masses. So love to have your input here with us today. So thanks for being here. I'm going to bring Cale back up, and we're just going to kick this off. So I just wanted to start with this opening comment. This is becoming more and more important. They just are not, Google reviews are just not influencing customer trust. I mean, they're directly impacting how your storage facility appears in Google search, maps, and all of this emerging AI technology, right? All these AI generated search results. So I want to talk first about AI generated search results. How is that changing the importance of Google reviews for self-storage operators? Cale, I'll start with you first.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting because Normally what our statistics show or used to show is that about 70% of people, when they're looking at reviews, they were reading at least the last 6, 7, 8 reviews. And they're looking at the most recent ones. Now, what's really interesting is those reviews, your entire review base is getting condensed down into 3 lines on that AI search. So really that can either push people away or pull people into your business. So you want to think about, making sure those are driving in consistently because of how big of a change that is. People aren't in that research phase like they used to. They're getting a really quick overview. And it's, changing the aspect of, we used to look at, try to get that quality number up, try to get that quantity up as well. And that was great. And that would help you stand out. But now if it's not recent and it's not pulling up in that AI overview with those quick 3 condensed lines, it really is difficult and it's changing the aspect entirely.
Absolutely. Melissa, what do you see from your viewpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kale's right. I look at reviews as, previously they were a conversion tool. They were probably why someone chose you, and they still are, right, on Google. But now they're more of a discovery tool too, just to Kale's point. They're being used as you show up in AI. That is one of the factors that they're using as a recommendation. So I think they're shifting more and more from just a conversion tool to also that discovery tool.
Yeah, I would agree with that, right? And when, if somebody's putting in the review, this is the best self-storage facility, and then somebody asks, let's say ChatGPT, what's the best self-storage facility in XYZ area? AI is studying those word similarities, right? So it's going to pull when it sees words like best, good pricing, all those customer sentiments that we can get from reviews. So very important to be heavily involved in reputation management process and review process. Melissa, for your portfolio specifically, what review signals are you seeing have the greatest impact on local search rankings for you?
Yeah, I think there's a few, right? There's obviously having reviews and your star rating are important, but the velocity, recency of the reviews as well. And then I know we're going to dig into it, but definitely answering the reviews. So your responses to the reviews. So all of those, couple into having reviews and then giving that back to Google as a ranking factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Kale, how about this one is, let's see, where am I? Sorry, I'm losing my space here. What Melissa was just saying, operators need to be responding to reviews, especially negative reviews. So how can you do that without hurting reputation?
Yeah, reviews and positive and negative, they're all the same as far as the response goes. We want to make sure we're responding to everything. And really what I like to tell people with the responses portion of these reviews is that you're really not responding for that person that left the review. They left a review, especially if it's positive or happy, you're not responding to them. You're responding for 2 things. You're responding for that person looking at your facility and in that research phase and the discovery phase. And you're also responding for Google to show that you're active, to show that you're actively trying to provide a good customer experience, because really that's what Google wants to do. They've found that their main goal is to have conversions. Their main goal is to bring people back to their website and to their search engine to do their searches and to do their research phase, because that's where they get paid. That's where they get money. So the best way they do that is to provide customers good customer experiences by providing facilities and other businesses that they know are going to provide a good customer experience. So that's one of their signals, is making sure we respond to those reviews so that they see you're actively trying to provide a good customer experience again. And with their negative responses, it's a little different though, because for one, yes, we want to respond for that person, but again, it's all for that person looking at in that discovery phase. But with those negative responses, we want to respond as quickly as possible. And we want to take that offline. We want to be polite. We want to take the emotion out of it. And I think that's one thing that, we kind of have a hard time with at times, is you're aware of what this customer is frustrated about. He's just being crazy. And it's not really deserving of a 1-star review, but they get on there, they post, they hurt your reputation. You want to take that emotion out of it. There's a lot of AI tools and things, even putting it in ChatGPT is a great way to take the emotion out of it, get a draft, maybe make some edits to more personalize it a little bit. But we want to take the emotion out of it. We want to take it offline. So making sure we respond to all positive and negative reviews quickly. Generally, we say within 48 hours is where we want to hit. But obviously quicker is better. And then making sure those negative ones to take the emotion out of it and try to take it offline as quick as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Melissa, if I have a 4.9 star rating with 50 reviews versus my competitor has a 4.3 with 800 reviews, tell me how that affects this process.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking of my own purchasing habits, right? I'm more likely to trust more people, and realizing that you're not going to make everyone happy. So there is going to be some negative sentiment with a review. So to me, I trust more reviews with a lower star rating than a high one. You can find, especially when you open up a facility, you'll see some new builds automatically get 50 reviews that are 5 stars. And I'm like, that's all their friends, right? And that goes against Google policy. So you're probably not going to see those reviews anymore anyway, and that star rating go down. But I definitely think the more reviews is what to focus on versus like the star rating. Of course, you want a good star rating. Don't get me wrong. Like, you don't want anything, our goals are always 4.7. So you want something around that, but I'd much rather see the volume of reviews than just a perfect rating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you make a great point, especially with those new builds. The first 50, especially if they're all 5 stars, like especially a new operator, they're not delivering that level of service yet. They're still learning, most likely. Kale, and I want to ask both of you this. Because Kale, you're talking to them from like the vendor perspective. So you're looking at a lot of different clients, right? And Melissa is too, with the size portfolio that she has. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see facilities make when it comes to managing online reviews? Because let's say they're like the one I just mentioned, 4.3 rating with 800, and let's say 100 of those come in 1 month. That's a lot to respond to, right? So walk me through some of that.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with that is, the first thing we like to say is those reviews are kind of that entry point. Looking at that quality, looking at that quantity, that rating, and the number, that's kind of going to bring people to your page or to your Google Business page. And then the actual reviews, once they start to study that, that's where that conversion happens and that trust happens, because that's what we want to do. And that's what those reviews are doing, is they're allowing people to trust your facility. And we're storing people's valuables. We're storing their cherished memories or their artifacts that they want to keep. So they want to be sure that they trust us. I know sometimes we look at a facility and think, or a unit and think there's no way those are valuables, but they are to them. So we want to make sure that they trust us, and we want to make sure that they feel comfortable in renting with us. And that's what those reviews do. So yes, that initial rating and that initial count really brings people to the doorstep. But the actual reviews and the ratings are what brings them in and actually grows that trust. And that's what now is getting a little bit changed because of that AI overviews, because that's getting condensed into those 3 lines. But with that too, we want to see that those 3 things with our reviews. We want to see quality, quantity, and consistency. With that 4.3 star rating, one of the things that we like to tell people, and ask one of the first questions we ask is, are you providing a good customer experience? Are you providing a 5-star experience in a 5-star facility? Because if you're not doing that yet, we want to start there. It's a lot easier to get 4.7, 4.8, 4.9 if you're a 5-star facility and treating it that way. So if that's not the case, we need to start there and then get the systems in place to capture that once you're improving that experience. But that being said, we do have different things that we want to do to try to drive those, having that things in place. A lot of people just say, hey, our managers are going to ask. And if they're not asking, then you're a lot more likely to get negative reviews popping up than positive. People are more likely to leave a negative review than a positive review in some cases. So you want to be sure to be asking people, be outreaching people in order to drive that positive review. And that'll help you to rank higher, help you to bring those people in and build that trust a little more.
Yeah, Melissa, anything you wanted to add to it?
Yeah, a few things. I think Kale's right. Like, the point of reviews is to build trust with, the consumers looking for you. And so some of the things that I see is like only asking, satisfied customers, only asking in a burst rather than having like a cadence and a program to ask at a regular rhythm within your customer journey. We talked about answering it. So I see a lot of like silence on negative reviews and not doing that. and I will take that one step further, is, Kale talked about providing the good customer experience, but using those reviews in a way to then change, some operational items or your website, or using that feedback to then turn that into actionable insights for your team to use. Everyone just concentrates on what reviews can do for you from like an SEO and a marketing perspective, but you can also use them in an operational or an other way to improve your business as well. And I know, Jessica, you and I talk about this a lot. The biggest thing I see them do is incentivize reviews, right? And you can't do that. It's against the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, to incentivize anyone leaving a review. So it's very important that you stay up to date on those kind of regulations if you're in if you're requesting reviews and doing that, and you're going to get reviews whether or not you have a program or not. So you need to have a program and can be able to manage it. And so just making sure that you're following all of those guidelines and laws.
Yeah, there's a few things you say I want to touch on. First of all, the incentivizing. My son-in-law has a pressure washing company. He's young. He's doing all of his marketing on his own. And I saw one of his ads that he put out there was, in fact, soliciting reviews and giving gift cards for it. I'm like, oh my God, Wyatt, take this down immediately. So I was like, and next time call your mother-in-law. The other part was that the cadence of asking for the review, right? This is a real life story. I was doing some mystery shopping and I had gone in and I was just asking about renting a unit, and the manager, there was no transaction. And before I left, the manager asked me to leave him a review, which is fine because he took me on a tour and everything, but it's like, I haven't really experienced your facility fully. So I kind of thought that was a little clunky. So there's definitely a cadence. And I know people want to know kind of what that cadence is. For me, if I just rented and I get a text message or an email within an hour, I'm probably still moving my stuff into my unit, right? Like, wrong time to ask me. And I probably will miss it. So we typically see like first 24 hours. Kale, you were saying like first 40. Well, I think you were saying 48 for the response. But so this is different. But like within first 24, you send that first interaction of like, hey, can you leave us a review? What kind of cadence should people follow after that without becoming like aggressive or annoying?
Yep. Yeah, I'll kind of share exactly what we do. And we've tested a lot of different cadences and we found this to be the most successful. But you're exactly right. An hour after they move in isn't going to convert at a high rate because there's a lot of things going on. They're getting like signing lease agreements, getting gate codes, getting their locks, getting all of that stuff figured out. And it gets lost in the shuffle. And we see that happen a lot with facilities, including it at the bottom of their welcome email or something where, they've got 100 different things. That's probably the last thing they're thinking about. What we found to be the most successful has been about a little over 24 hours after a move-in. Now, with a move-in, that's when people are happiest. That's when they've, maybe solved a problem in their home, opened a spare bedroom or their garage or whatever. And so that's where we're most likely to convert. So we like to send one a day after they move in, but we also, we track that and we send a follow-up message 3 days later. And we actually see a really big conversion rate from that follow-up because again, 24 hours, they might not be quite finished moving in yet. And so that follow-up really helps to drive those. After that happens, our cadence, we take them off and we won't message them again for another 4 to 6 months. If they didn't leave a review on move-in, we then reach out to them again every 4 to 6 months to try to capture a review and just get an updated feeling on their experience and updated feeling on how their interaction with you is going. We've seen it many times that we've reached out to somebody 6 months down the road or a year down the road and they were frustrated with something. And, without us reaching out and actually asking for feedback, we wouldn't have known that. And they were planning on moving out and we were able to save rentals. So that's kind of our cadence. That's what we found to be the most successful is that 24 hours and the follow-up and then give them a break for a few months and try again after they're more settled in.
I have a question for you on that one, Kale. Do you get pushback from owners when you tell them that cadence? Because a lot of owners are like, I don't want to talk to them again after they've moved in because I want them to forget they have their stuff here. So they stay for, 24 months or whatever. So what kind of pushback do you get when you say you do like every 4 to 6 months, like a touch base?
Yeah, we get pushback on that a little bit. Every now and then we have an owner who's, got that mindset, we're not going to reach out to them because we just want them to set them and forget them. But I do like to tell them, and we've never had an issue with it. We've never had someone, after they had frustrations or questions about it and concerns come back and say that this caused problems. We live in a pretty in-touch society. Everyone's got smartphones. Everyone's got their bank account on their phone, their email on their phone. Most people know that they have storage. Most people are just either one, still need it, or too lazy to go empty it. So it hasn't been a big issue with us. We haven't seen any sort of pushback on continuing to reach out, and we drive a lot of consistent reviews that way because after a while, after they get have a good experience, they're more willing to share.
Yeah. Melissa, is your cadence any different than the one Kale suggested?
No, we use the same drip campaign. And I wanted to say too, like we also do it on move out as well. And what we learned is when a move out happened, it was automatically triggering the ask for a review. And what we learned, just like Kale mentioned, they're telling you they're moving out, but they're not completely moved out. And they're in the middle of moving, figuring out what they're doing with their stuff or moving it. So when we shifted to asking, I think we asked 48 hours later after a move out, that we've seen the review volume really increase just from that small shift of the ask window.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously tech that can support this, right? But Kale, you said you've got to use it properly, right? You don't want it embedded in the email, but it's the last line of the email. They're going to miss it. So do you see better conversions coming from those email notification, SMS notification, a different channel through omnichannel? Where do you see it coming in the most?
Yeah, we see the highest conversion through text messages, which I think is a majority of industries nowadays. Is emails get ignored a lot, but with that, we like to send them out on the move outs as well, like she was saying. But yeah, we see majority on the SMS and the follow-ups as well.
Yeah. This is kind of going back into like the responding to reviews. Kale, you said you recommend 48 hours. Melissa, do you guys do any sooner than 48, or is 48 about your standard to have a response to a review?
Yeah, ours is like the goal is 24 hours. Obviously, we have weekends and those kind of things, but we set up AI agents that answer, 4 stars and above immediately, and have been training those AI agents to be able to do that. To get those responses. And then the negative ones, definitely we're responding quicker, but with the human touch. And then it goes into a ticketing system within our organization as well. So we're trying to resolve those as quick as possible.
And same thing with the tech there. Like, where's the better response rate coming from? The email solicitation for it, or the text messaging, or a different channel?
Oh, definitely the text, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny we're doing this today because I got a text message from a business and it's like, man, if I would have got that in an email, I know I wouldn't have seen it. But the text message, it just works. You see the notification come up on your phone, you hit it.
Yeah. Sorry, I know you asked about cadence, but one of the things we test too is like what we're asking, so you were talking about the email and embedding it. And, a lot of people would like give us feedback or leave us a review. And with AI, they really like more of a review that also has text with it. So we've shifted the way we've asked things to try to elicit more of a text-based response to like, what did you like about us? What, and those type of things to try to get them to prompt into the review, just texting and not just a rating as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. You had talked about, so you're using automated tools, you're using AI. Kale's platform has a lot of that embedded into it as well. What do you think are some of the risks associated to using some of these automated review tools out there?
Oh, I mean, like with anything with, the AI and the automated, you have glitches, you have things that happen, people maybe getting a response that doesn't quite make sense to what their review is. If you're using AI agents, maybe getting a review request when it didn't make sense. If you know that they are super unhappy with you, sending them a request. So there's different, just like any technology platform, there's glitches that happen, and you just have to be aware and just have a proactive way to resolve it.
Yeah. Cal, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I look at it more of an operator standpoint as well. And when, we talk about getting systems in place, we see a lot of people, set up this system and say, we're going to get hundreds of 5-star reviews. That's all we really need to do. But that's not always the case, especially, again, like I talked about earlier, if you don't have a 5-star facility or even a 4-star facility and you're expecting to put a system in place and get a lot of 5 stars, that it generally goes a little bit different of direction. And that can hurt people. So we do see that happening to where people set it up and say, as long as we're asking, we're going to get 5 stars. That's not always the case. You gotta earn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You just actually answered my next question. Any other pointers you can give? Like, obviously you have to have good customer service, and that 5-star, you have to earn it, like you're saying. Anything else out there to try to get those authentic reviews that you could suggest an operator try to do?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. You go ahead first.
Oh, no, I just think there's also some, because that's something we could talk about as well, as Google's policy has changed on how to generate reviews, how to get reviews. And it's a big shakeup in our industry about what a lot of people were doing on generating reviews. But one of those portions that everyone was doing is, QR codes, which QR codes are still great. But what we found is, because one of Google's new policy is stating like you can't pressure people on site to leave reviews. So if you're getting every single review on site through QR codes, those reviews are getting weighed less. They're not as heavily weighted as if you have a good mix of maybe on-site and off-site. So we see, making sure that you have a good mix, and that kind of answers your question in a way, because people are just focusing on the QR codes or just focusing on people in the door. So doing both, do QR codes, do handouts or get like cards at the facility, but then having a system in place for the outreach as well for those people not on site. Because, like I said, Google's policies changed. It's kind of shaken the industry a little bit on how that's happened, and we need to kind of adapt to that.
Yeah, I will just add to that too, it's the personal ask as well, whether it is your call center, converting that rental and just asking at the end of the call, hey, you're going to get, as a heads up, you'll get this text message, and we use this as a feedback source too. So just having that conversation and giving them a heads up, I think more likely to look for that review request and then leave it as well. So just that personal ask within your operations too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We had a client that, and sometimes we tell people this too, is like, find your thing, find what kind of separates you from others, whether that's a gift basket or, free waters while people are moving in. We had one client that would he lived in a pretty religious community in the Bible Belt. He'd play gospel music in the halls all day long, and people loved it. Out of the reviews, probably 90% were mentioning this. So it's just like going out of your way too, to kind of find your thing, finding your personal touch. And again, that's hard at some points. If you're running like Melissa, she's running 600 facilities. It's hard to get a personal touch at every single one. But finding your thing really goes a long way as well.
Yeah. And with you saying that, and Melissa, I'll go to you on this one, because you have multi-locations that you're operating and managing. How do you come up with a consistent reputation management strategy across all these facilities?
Yeah, I think it's tools like Kale's Storage Reach. Those type of platforms really help you manage and make sure that your requests are all asking the same thing, or to Kale's point, inserting something specific about a facility, but giving you a platform to manage it. I always say, if you have like less than 5 facilities, you could probably do it with just Google alerts and emails, and some like email blasts and some preset emails or automatic emails. But if you get more than that, you need a platform where you can consolidate it all. You can see requests. What's nice is, like a platform like Kale's, for instance, you can see if they've answered it right, and then you can do a drip campaign and ask them a few more times to really try to get that, and you can then start to test how you ask as well. So I think it's really important. Kale's is a great platform. There's other platforms out there too that really help you consolidate and manage from a way that makes it consistent. Otherwise, you're relying on your on-site staff or those or your call center or someone to get out those, versus if you have an automatic platform that consolidates it for you. Also helps with the managing of the responses too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we're talking about all these different tools and platforms out there that can be used. Obviously, there's costs associated to that. So how can an operator look at those costs and then try to tie that back into ROI into the facility? Is it producing ROI?
Yeah, I would kind of start by making sure you have your data, making sure you know how you're currently performing. Because, for example, we started with some clients that we started generating reviews for, and we had data from before and we tracked data after, and we saw a 22% increase in Google business page traffic just by generating reviews. And they saw an extra 3-4 rentals a month. Once you see that, you see your traffic increase, you see your rankings increase. Tracking that really helps you to figure out that ROI and figure out what's worth it and what's not. If you don't have that data, it's kind of hard because you might see an increase in occupancy, but if you're doing 4 other things, you don't know exactly what the difference is. So making sure you capture that data and really track that data the best you can is how we like to say, that's how you're going to figure out your ROI. That's how you're going to know what's working and what's not.
Melissa, anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, Kale's right. You have to have the data, right, to show that. And at the end of the day, all of the purpose of any marketing is to get rentals. And so that's how you show it. And you can start to see that. We chart occupancy based on star rating too, and being able to correlate those and different ways that you can see that in the data. But what I do want to mention, and looking at this, and we report on ROI too, is you have to start shifting your mindset that marketing is just not an expense, but it's an investment as well. And so when you have that data and being able to show that it's an investment in your facility to be able to reach your goals.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
What would you say these reviews play a role in increasing occupancy rates and customer conversion? We're kind of talking about that a little bit, how that can, implicate this. Talk me through that, Kale, and then I'll go to Melissa.
Yeah. I mean, I can talk all day about that. There's a number of different ways reviews help, just by starting out and kind of jumping back into what we were talking about before with different advertising avenues, different marketing budgets, different things. Reviews really have the ability to give you one of the highest ROIs in marketing. And it's one of the easiest to capture too. If we were looking at a search engine results page and you're breaking it down by, you got your paid click, your paid ads up top, then you have your Google business pages, and then you have your organic rankings. About 52% of all clicks on a local search are going to the Google business pages. So where you're going to have the biggest impact is where you're going to be. If you can rank higher there than you're ranking on the other places, you're going to have more chances to get a click. You're going to have more chances to drive more rentals. And it's an easier way for you to convert or compete with, the REITs or the big players in the market by just capturing those reviews. You might not be able to spend a bunch of money on Google ads, but if you can't do that, focus on reviews. That's going to give you a pretty big ROI and it's going to really help you out. So with that, and shoot, what was the question? I kind of got on a
the
tangent
other part
there.
is like customer conversion, right? But
Yeah. And with that, we've talked about a lot about it is the trust factor. People are more trusting through reviews than not. There's stats out there, and I have a lot of personal experiences. I've shared this in the past where I've looked at reviews and I think I talked about bacon flavored toothpaste. I bought it based on reviews, not something I would have ever bought in my entire life until I saw those reviews. Wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't give it a good review, but reviews just play such a big factor in building that trust and that credibility. And that's where the conversions are going to come in. If you can get a higher trust factor, then your prices. What we have seen in the past is that if you're able to generate consistent reviews and you're able to bring your ranking up from, let's say, a 4.3 to a 4.7, we've seen about the ability to increase your rents by 10%, which I'm not saying start generating reviews and increase your rents 10%, but that just goes to show you the impact that they have and how big of a factor they play. Because once a client of ours started doing that, they increased their rent. We've done it multiple times to where they just nothing dropped, nothing changed. So that's one thing that we see is just that trust and credibility factor. And then we can talk about the rankings. If you're ranking higher from generating more reviews, you're going to get more clicks. And then with that more reviews, you're more trust and more conversions. A number of different ways. They even bring your pay-per-click ads down cost a little bit because you're getting a higher quality score because you are getting a higher click-through rate. So I can go into a number of different avenues, but I'll also let Melissa jump in so I don't, take all the time just talking to here.
Yeah.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Kale. And I think the stat is like over 90% of people when they're searching read the reviews before they make the purchase. So that right there, I think one stresses the importance, because most people, I think 50% of people who use storage have never used storage before. So they're really relying on those reviews to help understand the facility. And most people are not, we see more and more of our rentals coming through online. So they're not even going to the facility first to see it. And so again, those reviews become like your word of mouth, and they become your reputation. A lot of times they're seeing those reviews before they even get to your website. So that's the first impression someone sees of you. And now even with AI, it used to be how you showed up. Again, AI, that's how they're discovering you as well, using those reviews. So definitely important in gaining occupancy.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to jump in there. We've also been saying recently, one of our favorite lines is tenants are your best sales team. We want them to be pushing you. We want them to be, and so like Melissa said, a lot of times they're reading those reviews before they get on your website. Are your tenants selling your facility, or are they selling someone else's? And that's what reviews are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like Melissa said, I mean, most people, I think overall storage usage in the US is still around like 12%. There's a wide majority of people that have never touched this product type. They are going to look for that guidance. They are going to look for other people saying that they've had good experiences, and they're going to trust it, right? It's global word of mouth, if you will, at scale, which is really cool. So it's definitely a critical thing to have out there. What if I'm an operator and I know 100% certain that this review is fake, it's fraudulent, it's a bot, what's the process there? How do I contact Google? How do I suppress it? What do I do?
Yeah. So, the one nice thing about storage is we do have a list of tenants in a database. And so we are able, not 100% perfect, but we can match up and see if it was someone that was actually a tenant, those kind of things. But there's a way you go to the review, you flag it. Conflict of interest is usually one if it's a competitor or those kind of things. And then also just familiarizing yourself with Google's policies. We both mentioned the FTC and Google's policies, but there are things that you can't leave in a review, like if it's an employee, those kind of things. It's supposed to be a relevant, real review of the business. So if it's violating any of those, you can choose that. And what we've learned is the more people that flag it, the more likely it's been going to be taken down. So if you flag it and then you have, a couple other people, on your business and those kind of things flag it, it really draws the attention to Google to get it taken down.
So you recommend if I have a team of like 10 people, try to get all 10 people to flag it to help?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Kale, anything you wanted to add to help with fraudulent or fake reviews?
No, I think she kind of covered it all. I will say, you might get some companies reaching out saying they're going to remove these reviews for you and things. And generally those are scams. Just kind of be aware of that. They're really doing the only thing that you can do is flagging it. So we like to tell people, like Melissa said, get as many people as you can to flag it, mention conflict of interest. In the very, very drastic measures, we've seen people go to the Google forums and fill that out and have an expert kind of help them with that, but that's been pretty rare. But we do say too, if you get one, flag it, but then turn around and start focusing on getting more reviews. Try to bury that. If it gets removed, great, we're happy, that's what we wanted. But if it doesn't, because Google is kind of hard to get a hold of sometimes, kind of hard to get things done, just flag it and move on and bury it with good reviews.
Yeah. What now that you're saying bury it with the good reviews, whether it be fake or fraudulent, or even if it's just a negative review, what's like the point of like how many new positive reviews do I need to get to try to get that one buried that I don't want people to see?
Yeah, I think to kind of answer that question, I'll jump in really quick, but you're not necessarily going to bury it completely. One of the highest used filters, so the highest used filter on a Google reviews platform is newest, and then the second highest is worst. They want to make sure that they want to see how you're interacting with those people that had bad experiences, because we know, bad experiences are going to happen. No one's perfect. I think Melissa mentioned it earlier. If someone has 55-star reviews and nothing else, it kind of gets a little suspicious. So no one's perfect. They're going to look at it, but that's where that response comes in. That's what we said before. If you're going to, when you do that response, you're responding for the people looking at it. So if it was a tenant that isn't part of the database or it's a fake review, respond to that, state that, say, hey, we don't have record of you as a tenant. If you'd like to reach out to us and get your issue resolved, feel free to email us here or whatever. So responding to that, try to bury it. But you're never going to, if it's still there, people are going to see it. Just we can outweigh that and kind of minimize the impact by getting a good response on it.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about reviews and review system is the word cloud of sentiments and how my customers feel about my business. And man, is that gold, right? If I go into my word sentiment and the biggest word in my word cloud's dirty, I better call my manager and get to cleaning. So tell me some ways operators can look at word sentiment and really make future business decisions based on what they're hearing. You got to listen to what your customers are saying about you and react to make their facility that much better. Melissa, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Kale.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this, taking, and you mentioned the word clouds, you can look at it visually however you want. But what is nice, and especially with AI, you can do it quicker, is you can start to see patterns. So, every time we have a store that's underperforming, one of the first things we look at is reviews and what customers are saying. It gives us some insight there that, again, you want to hear what the customers are saying, and that's where they're talking. So you can see that. And, is it a gate issue, right? We had a facility whose gate was down for, it felt like months, right? And that's all of the reviews were around that. So, my team was providing that to operations and facility maintenance, saying, hey, this is a big issue. The customers are really upset about this. Let's get this fixed. So I think the more that you use those reviews, and even positive too, right? Like, I tend to focus on the negative, and, every day I get, I changed this. I was getting all of the negative reviews, and now I get highlights. And so even calling out those positive reviews and saying, this tenant really said manager Jane went above and beyond for them, and giving kudos to the other managers, that helps the morale of your team too. So I think, I tend to be like a continuous improvement person and wanting to get better and using those negative reviews, but don't forget those positives can also help you shine what's going well at your facility too.
Yeah. Kayla, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, no, I think she covered it pretty well. I would say, especially remote facilities, reviews give you a chance to kind of have a pulse on your business and understand what's happening, if issues are arising or if things are going well. So yeah, just staying up to date, looking at the word cloud, looking at the sentiment across your reviews really help you to just keep track, understand what's happening, and find issues that you can either resolve or shine on, like Melissa said.
Yeah, like you mentioned the remote facility, right? Customer reviews, essentially, if you don't have a boots on the ground person or a manager there, like, they basically are an extension of your staff. They're telling you what's happening at your facility. Yeah. Maybe if you don't have your eyes on the camera, or visibility to it, or that's limited. Yeah. So looking at those reviews would be a really good spot. Melissa, you were talking about how you kind of go more to the negative versus positive, but let's talk about those positive ones. Where are you displaying these? Website, social media posts, any other places?
Yeah, those are great, right? To throw it out there is like what people are saying about us, using them. You can use them on posters and those kind of things, putting them on your websites. I will say again, just make sure you're familiar with the policies. A lot of people were only flowing through 4.0 and better to their website for, obviously reasons. You want to help conversions. That's now against policies. So you just want to make sure that if you're going to show reviews, that yes, highlighting positive is awesome, but you need to show all of them anywhere that you're having that flow through at.
Flow through, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. AI is like rapidly evolving. It's here. It's not going anywhere. If I'm an owner operator, how do I plan for future changes in AI and local discovery through some of this AI stuff that's happening with AI-driven search and reviews?
Yeah, I can jump into this first. So, the first thing I would say is storage is not quite as far along as other industries are in the AI searches and the AI, purchases, but it's coming. It's coming down the tracks and it's going to happen. So what we've been typically telling people is getting a system in place is important, getting those reviews. But if you would have told me 2 years ago or asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I'd have said, you know what, let's just get as many reviews on Google. The other platforms aren't a big of worry because we're not seeing as much traffic through those. So if 90% of traffic is coming through Google, let's get a review where it's going to be the most impactful. Well, now that's changing with AI, because AI is not only looking at your Google reviews, they're looking at your Yelp, they're looking at your Facebook, they're looking at all sorts of different things that is different now. So what we tell people is, yes, we still want to focus on Google. We want to generate those on Google. But if you have an opportunity, maybe someone didn't have a Gmail account, they couldn't leave a review on Google, instead of just saying, all right, well, never mind, let's push them to another platform. Let's try to get reviews everywhere we can, because Google or AI is pulling them from those locations. So I think that's a big difference that we're seeing now, is it's bringing all those things that we thought weren't having that big of an impact, depending on the area, to being more and more important.
Anything you wanted to add, Melissa?
No, not necessarily. I will say what we do see about AI is yes, Kale's right. Like, it's very small as a percentage of traffic, but it's doubling. And they're high intent. So when they come to your website, that AI traffic is converting, and very much so because of what Kale said. They're looking at those reviews from different platforms. There's the Yelps, the Facebook, the Apple Maps even has reviews available, or star ratings available. So all of those places is really important that you're getting the reviews and those there, just because they're using the ChatGPTs, the Claudes and Perplexities and whatever, Grok, whatever you want to use, to do that discovery. And then they're highly converting. But part of that discovery is that they're seeing those reviews all rolled up.
Yeah, absolutely. We just launched a new AI visibility report at the Storage Group, and what we're finding within the data that's coming in, it's from the websites and reviews and listings are probably like the top three categories where it's pulling in from the most into these platforms. So you got to be paying attention to this stuff, guys. It's going to become more and more important. And if you're not doing this, I promise you, your competitor is, and they're going to show up in the AI summary and you're not. And people are going to pick from there. I mean, sometimes I don't even go beyond the AI summary anymore, because it tells me exactly what I was looking for if I do a search, right? We're about to close out in like the next 10 or 12 minutes or so. I want to give the audience an opportunity. If they have any questions, audience, please, this is your chance to ask Kale, Melissa, or myself any questions, any challenges maybe you're having at your facility with reviews, any wins you're having with reviews. We would love to hear what's working for you, some of the best practices. But Melissa, I'll start with you on this last question, and then I'm going to go to Kale. I'm going to see if you guys could come up with 3 different answers each. But we've kind of talked about a lot of this within this webinar, but let's just kind of bring it back in. What are 3 things that you would suggest an owner operator after this webinar go do to help with their online reputation when they leave today?
Yeah, if we're just focusing on reviews, the nature of this conversation, I think one is establishing benchmarking. We have benchmarking on rentals, but like we have KPIs around reviews too. So we want a certain percentage of move-ins to leave reviews. So establishing that benchmarking within your company and what the expectations are, for your managers, for the facilities to get reviews. I think also, we talked a lot about it, but it's really important is like really familiarizing yourself with Google's policies, FTC's policies, and any other platform that you're really trying to get reviews on, doing that. And then, I'll kind of say 2 as the last one is like having a way to answer negative reviews, especially, positive ones too, but definitely having a platform, which would be my third one, is establishing some sort of system or engaging a platform like Kale's to really be able to manage your review requesting and answering program.
Absolutely. Kale, how about you?
Yeah, she took about all 3 of mine. So I'm going to try to come up with some other ones. No, I think the first thing I would say is go into those AI tools that you're using and do a quick background check on yourself. Just ask it, how do people feel about my facility? Give me a sentiment breakdown and see what they're saying. See what AI shows you. And maybe in that same chat, I'm going to use this as 2. Do a competitor analysis and see how your competitors are doing, because different cadences, different velocities, going to have different impacts in different areas depending on where you're at. If you're at where a lot of REITs are, you're going to need to get more reviews than what a place in a secondary market is going to need. So I would do that and do a little background check on yourself, see how that's doing in a competitive analysis. And then lastly, I would say, go into your Google business page and grab that traffic or grab that data. So it's kind of tying into what Melissa says with some KPIs and things. Grab that data so you know where you're starting. And now that we've had this conversation, you're going to go focus on it a lot more. You'll see where you're ending or where you're gaining.
Yeah, I mean, we look at reviews all day, every day. Kale, it's so funny you say that like owners tend to ignore the negative ones. I just saw it in a client portfolio the other day. I went down, I could see responses to all positive, no responses to the negative. So I'm like, I guess I got to call this guy. But we see that happen often. So moral of the story is, guys, you need reviews, you need good ones, you need a system in place. This is going to become incredibly important for your digital footprint out there. Plus, like I said earlier, you can learn a lot about what people think about your business. It's good for retention purposes. I mean, it has so many added values, especially on the SEO and organic level side. You might be in a market with a ton of REITs. This is a way to keep you competitive against REITs. There's a lot of good things that can come from generating, responding, and having a review management system in place for you. So Melissa and Kale, thank you guys so much for joining us today. This audience has been quiet, but I always take that as we just presented very well. So I hope the audience got a lot out of it. I'm going to go ahead and release you guys. Say goodbye to everyone. Thanks again for being here. And I have just a couple quick closing announcements for our audience today. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Kale, again for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, a couple quick announcements for you all. We have some things coming up. So I'm going to put this up on screen. Let me get it. Why is it not working? Tech is fun when it works. Oh, I know why it's not working. Hold on. I'm going to put these up at the end. I fibbed. I'm going to tell you about them, and then I'm going to put them up at the end. So TSG, the storage group, we have a lot of new content this year that we introduced in 2026. This Megabyte webinar series would be one of them. We have one coming up next month on July 23rd at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And that one is talking more about AI. The future of self-storage is automated, and what we think operators need to know to stay competitive out there in this automated environment. So please join us next month. We will have a QR code up where you can go ahead and register. And as it gets closer, we will announce who the speakers are for that one. But again, that will be July 23rd at 2 p.m. We also have an incredible monthly newsletter. It's called The Modern Storage Operator. You can get that by signing up. We've put some links in the chat and we'll continue to do that. Or you can go to our website, you can go to our social media pages to get those links. But please follow us. We send one email out per week. I don't think that's too annoying, and they're all really good information. And next week, we will be releasing our version of what we call the Bite. It's typically a case study that we've done on one of our recent clients to showcase just how well people are doing out there if they're putting some of these best practices and some of these tools in place to help automate their business, whether it's creating, operational efficiency, reducing labor, whatever that may be. So that gets released next week. So please join that newsletter. And typically in our cadence of content, we have a product showcase on the Tuesday before our webinar. This month is a little different. So next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we will have a product showcase of all of the wonderful products that the storage group offers specifically to the self-storage industry to help owners and operators have good functioning websites, convert more rentals, and ultimately make more money. That's what we're here to do, right? So please join that and check out what we have going on there. And then lots of trade shows will be coming up in the fall. We will be attending the National SSA show in early September. I will actually be on a panel there with Melissa. It's a marketing panel. So we're excited to announce that. And we will announce all of the other shows that we will be attending in the fall. But one specifically what we want to announce, and we'll show you here in one of the closing slides, is Modern Storage Media, MSM, has come up with a new national show called The Show. It will be in early November, and they are offering anyone that uses our code, which is Storage Group, $100 off the price of their ticket. And that's from now until the date of the show. And I think there's an escalation in their ticket prices, right? They're still in like early bird pricing. So probably now's the best time to buy your ticket, because as it gets closer, it's going to get more expensive. But either way, you will still have $100 off that ticket if you use our code. So I'm going to remove myself from screen. We're going to pop up these couple remaining items for you. They will have QR codes where you can go there and join. As always, thank you guys for joining us. I hope you get a lot out of this. And if you ever have an idea for a topic, you can get in touch with me through our website. I believe my email's out there. I'm all over social media on LinkedIn. There's many ways to get in touch with me or TSG, the storage group as a company. Submit those ideas of what you think you need help with. We like to bring educational content to the storage industry, and we want to make sure it's timely and what you guys even want to learn and hear about. So please send us some feedback of what you would like to learn, and we would be happy to put that in our schedule for upcoming webinars and shows that we do. So thanks again for joining us. I'm going to put up these final remaining screens. And if anyone's ever interested in learning more about our products and services specific to your portfolio or your location, you can reach out and request a demo from us. One of our happy sales team members would be tickled to get in touch with you and talk more about TSG and all the great things we do. So again, thanks for joining us. I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. If you celebrate Juneteenth and you're off work tomorrow, have a good day off. TSG is closed tomorrow, so we are off tomorrow. And I hope the rest of you have a good holiday and good weekend. Take care, everyone.